correct. That's what our goal is. Benefit administration is an area that we've really been kind of advancing over the years, and I think it's going to have quite a bit more advancement done the next year. But it's got a lot of capabilities already. We do have some districts using it, not all of them, but we do expect more and more to use it. Of course, the more they use it, the more feedback we'll get, and the stronger it'll get. So that's always a good thing. We put the benefit administration on. Administration, and so for the most part, all the setup in the back office is done there, and then on the self-service side, the employee primarily interacts currently right now between these two buttons. This would just show them their current enrollment from this year as they're progressing through the year, and then once open enrollment is established, they would be able to click on open enrollment and click on there. But if there's not an open enrollment for them and they were to click on that, they'll just get that kind of message. No benefits are open for enrollment at this time. One of the areas that we're working on right now is that the employee will be able to initiate a life event right here on the self-service system. I had a child and just so they'll be able to actually, in essence, create their open enrollment. It probably will have to get approved by the back office, but they'll be able to at least kick off the process to sort of start a life event, open enrollment process just for them that's happening mid-year because of something that's happened on their side as opposed to the action of open enrollment for the whole group as a whole. Let's switch. We're going to spend most of our time initially in the back office, and then we'll go ahead and interact in the what I call the front office, which is the self-service side. And then come back to this area as well, the back office. So in the benefit administration area, the menu currently looks like this. My guess is, again, we'll add options over time. Just wanted to give you guys sort of a heads up on how so on the administrative side, the setup side, the types of benefits is probably the main area that you do a lot of setup in. Benefit types, benefit classes is really more people, groups they might belong to. And so really a lot of times when we deliver benefits to the district, it's a combination of the types of benefits we're offering for particular classes of employee, and those need to come together. They come together really in the enrollment control. Enrollment controls is really where you're basically telling the system that these types of benefits are applicable for these types of benefit classes. And that's also where you might say that I'm ending a benefit. I'm not going to offer that benefit any longer for next year, or maybe I'm replacing it with a new benefit. So I want everybody that was on this benefit to go to this benefit, a different benefit. Used for. The create open enrollment is a process that runs through that can be run for one employee or all employees or a class of employees, and there's some dates you fill in there and so forth to create the open enrollment data out there. Once you've created the open enrollment, they'll all be connected to registers. We get a different register for every enrollment that's created, whether it's a single person enrollment or a 1,000-person enrollment, it gets a register. And in the register, you'll see there's processes there to monitor as well as to move the process along. And so that's kind of what we do. A lot of in registers, if you will. These are the enrollment registers, and they'll be very important. You can register and decide to abort it. The enrollment registers fully deleted the actual other option there.
Hey Andrew. That's Andrew.
Yes. Are you guys hearing me okay?
Well, you cut out every once in a while for just a second. So something going on with the sound.
Yeah, it's on our end, and I'm in a different office in this Baltimore office, and we're having difficulties. So just, if I need to, I kind of know what I'm saying, hopefully, knock on wood, so I can repeat it again. If you just sort of chime in and say, not such a good one, then I'll go ahead and just repeat that last few sentences. And I'll try to go slow so you have time to raise a flag.
Okay.
But yeah, we're having a little bit of internet issues. We think we're not really sure. We have some heavy monitoring going on right now. Not sure of what's going on with it. So anyways, let's start at benefit types. I'm going to go in there at first. And in the benefit types, one of the things that we had to deal with early on was well, we just called it. I'm trying to think what we called it. It's a type of plan, a flex plan, cafeteria plan, if you will, where you, the employer, give the employee based on their class a sort of a fixed amount of dollars that they can go out and just buy, in the cafeteria, and at the end you check out and settle, have a deduction or whatever. But it's like one final number. You don't have a different a number for V. Have this true cafeteria style. With Wooster, do you guys offer something like that? We call that a flex plan. Do you actually have a flex plan, or do you have more of a traditional medical, dental, et cetera type of offering?
We have a flex plan, but we also have the traditional health, dental, vision.
Yeah, I don't mean flexible spending now. I mean within medical, and for them a certain flat amount and they can go out and buy from a cafeteria. It's a very specific style. I'm not talking about flexible spending now. I'm using the word flexible two different ways. I'm talking about more of a cafeteria plan. There's not that many around. We only have one district, Owen J. Roberts up in Pennsylvania, that has one. Every district that we've seen since then is using more of a traditional medical model. And again, I'm not talking about flexible dependent and flexible medical at this point.
Yeah, no, we don't have that kind of. Employees can sign up for health care and dental and vision, but they don't have a flat dollar value that they can put so much into one and so much into another. And
Right. So that's good, because that's what I wanted to. Yeah, and so I'm going to skip over a couple of these options because this first option here is set up that way, and I believe the second one was set up that way as well. Really, you would have more of the typical flex spending like an FSA, dependent Medicare, and then you have the medical plans, health plans. So I'm going to focus on that one right now. We do have some options here right now: medical insurance, flexible spending, long-term disability. We may grow that list over time, but that's kind of what we have right now. We speak in different units of measure, whether we're doing it monthly, annually, or weekly. Right now it's pretty much monthly, the way we speak to the employees in terms of how these plans, dollars and so forth, interact. We still do per pay period as well. It's active. This is that Flex Enabled checkbox. So this is the plan that actually I'm testing with. That's using our Flex Enabled functionality, which we'll ignore. So is that important? That's important. And this interface to payroll is only applicable at this level for this top line item. We're going to see other interface to payroll settings, but they're going to go a little bit deeper when we finally get to medical versus dental and so forth. So let's just kind of go down here. And so in this section, we have different areas. And the contribution tiers is really applicable to the flex plan model. So again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. That's, again, where you get into how much dollars the employee has to start the cafeteria line, and then they can go shopping. So it's really not applicable. So I'm going to focus more on this button right here. So in the plans, you can have as many plans as you want. So we have a dental plan, health plan, a vision plan. Again, you can call them anything you want. You could have, many different choices here, but typically this is at the concept level. So this is more, I have maybe 2 dental plans, but this is just at the higher level. This is just the thing called dental plan. In terms of the that's going to be a little bit deeper into this. And so is it active? The default plan option code, and we're going to see what that means, and the default participation, we're going to see what that means. But those are important because the system wants to know that if I have open enrollment going on and I create an initial sort of expectation of what I think people are going to select, the system is basically going to try to pick what they picked last time, But if they're a new employee or they, are just coming new into the system, into the healthcare system, or just qualifying for the first time, the system wants to know, well, for those people that I don't really have any previous data on, what do you want me to do in terms of an initial enrollment? And so that's kind of what this is going to relate to, as these two columns will be here. But first thing I'm going to do is go to the options. So in the healthcare options, okay, I can have as many different plans as I want. You can see that we do want a waived option. So we're going to go ahead and just put in as many different plans as you offer. And of course, the description will hopefully be something that will mean something to them. And then the waived is just saying, I'm getting my health care from my spouse for whatever reason, and so I'm going to go ahead and waive the health care benefit. That needs to be an option that they can pick. And as you can see, the checkbox of enrolled is checked. The one that's the decline is not checked, and so that's how the system knows whether it's truly a waive or not. I guess you have two different kinds of waives, but I think it's just generally one waived. And of course, the active flag is really meant to be so that, over time, maybe you drop one of these plans and add another one, and you can deactivate one and add another one. So that's kind of what the active flag is for. So this is where you define the different choices. Then you independently go ahead and pick the types of elections. So in here, we just decide whether it's employee only, employee and children, let's say, employee spouse, whatever fits your needs, family and so forth. And again, if you have different kinds of settings for different plans, dental offers different choices than medical, then just put all the choices you possibly have, the maximum number, and then you'll see in a second we actually connect it back to those original plans we just saw on the next screen. Here we want to know whether it's considered to be enrolled. So again, a waived option is not checked. Does it include the spouse? Okay, yes, that does, but that children one does not. Does it include children? This one does, that one doesn't, and so forth. And then also child max age. We want to know what the maximum is. Maximum count. The max count is if you do have an employee plus child, single child, then you can have a child max count of 1. So this just helps to track that kind of information. Spouse, we expect no children, and so forth. So pretty straightforward. Whether we add more check boxes and other options later on, I suspect we will, but that's what we have right now. Okay, in the elections. So the elections is where I was talking about earlier. This is where we combine everything. And we do have some functionality to kind of do this in a quick, when you press a button, it'll just create it for you. So you can press a button, and it kind of smart enough to create pretty much just what you see here, just in one fell swoop. What we need you to do on this, and we do have an effective date and expiration date at this point, so you can go ahead and have, options that are now being dropped off at different times. It's not each plan year. This is more just structural changes and the dates that these structural changes occur. So maybe the dental offered child and children, but then the next year it only offers children and not the child one. So therefore that you can expire and let that fall away. So that's the kind of stuff that the effective expiration dates used here. It's not meant to be updated each year for the planned year. We're going to get to that somewhere else. Okay. The election code is a unique variable that you put in so that we kind of have a dead ringer connection to this individual record. It's kind of a way to sort of describe this record in a unique way. So you can see what we've done. We kind of took the plan option and we took the participation code and used that as an option. So either way has to be unique. If I tried to put the same value in on two different records, it would fault out. Annual pledge limit's not applicable. That's FSA only. Split method. So in terms of trying to figure out the cost, we do want to understand how much is the employer paying versus the employee. It's not applicable in some cases, but for the most part, you would need to manually enter it in. And so really, if I just do it here and say 95%, it changes the other one to 5%. That's all it's really doing. If I change this to 5%, change the other one to 95%. So it's pretty much whatever one you want. It's going to force it to be 100. This is an example of a manually entered 100% allocation of premium between the employer and the employee. We do have the ability to use union employer-employee, and so this values would be appearing already. and it's based on, well, actually, I'm not sure if it appeared. I can't remember why. I can't remember. I know that it gets it from the employer's bargaining unit. So the bargaining unit says that it's 90/10, then it's 90/10. So I'm just not, can't remember. It's been a while since I've done the testing on that, so I'm not going to get into that too much at this point. I don't think you guys use that functionality, if I remember correctly. All right, the current provider cost, the system does have a place where you put the monthly cost in. So here you can go ahead and say for this particular election code, through that date, and I could of course change that date to 12/31/15 and say effective date 01/01/16, it's 260, something like that. Okay, so if I hit OK. And in this date business, what you see on this screen is a representation of current. Current right now is 1/1/16, so it's going to stay 250. It's not going to change to 260. The reason it's not changing is because I put in a date that's in the future. If I put the 15th on this and says, hit OK, I think it would change to 260. Oh, maybe not. Yeah, there it goes, 260. So it's actually, that's why it says current provider cost, because it's current as of the date that's on your computer right now. You could change your workday here, by the way, and it would change, and you could test it. So if you are working on next year and you're not at next year and you are putting a monthly date, a monthly cost with a future date, just change your work date, and you'll be able to see if those dates are connecting back to what you have on your sheet of paper to make sure that these prices are right. So that's an important part to get right. Okay. So you're talking about employer or employee using these percents. That's sort of obvious. Are you interfacing this to the payroll? So here we're interfacing to the payroll. How are you interfacing this to the payroll? Are you interfacing it to the other authority section of the payroll or to the employee rate section? Oh, you're picking other authority. What is the authority code and what is the filing status? So this is how we connect, if you will, the benefit administration system and open enrollment and have it flow straight through to the payroll system and update that on an automated basis at the end of open enrollment. So obviously that's very important. I think the last big important thing is this very large tool that we've just finishing off and are improving every day, but it's pretty much ready to go, where you can actually get this data out of the system and send it to the providers. So it's a user definable widget, if you will, to send all the data to the providers. Payroll rate, yeah, I'm not sure. Oh, that'd be the payroll rate. Yeah, so if you picked the option of rate code, then it would need to know, well, what is the rate code? You have a comment, and I think that's pretty much that. But this is an important screen, obviously, and it needs to be correct. And it's one of the areas that if it's not correct, a lot of times when you do open enrollment, you don't get anything to suggest. You'll get errors and so forth. This is probably the place where the error is occurring. Okay, so I think I've gone through all that. Plans in terms of, let's say, an FSA or a spending, we'll go into that. Okay, there it's pretty straightforward. We have, again, options there. We just have enrolled and not enrolled, and participations. We do have single, married, declined, waived. So it's pretty similar, just, Now there's the annual limit. So now we know what the annual limit is, and you can update that each year, of course, and so forth. And again, you could use these effective dates. So if the year it changes by the IRS rules, you could just go ahead and put another end date, create a new record with a new effective date, and go ahead and put the new rates in, just so that you have that history, if you will. So setting up the flexible spending ones are pretty easy. Nothing too much on those. We really haven't done a lot of work in life insurance at this point. That's probably our next big area that we need to work on. So we'll definitely see improvements in that area. Okay, so once we've said the benefit classes, I'll kind of go through them real quick. It's pretty straightforward. Basically, you set up as many classes as you want, and then you connect people to those classes through the employee class. So really, the employee class ultimately drives the classes here and drives how we put people in different clumps. So if you guys offer different benefit packages to different people, the question is, does your class code allow the system to understand people being in Class A or Class B? And if not, could we change your class code to accommodate that? It is an area that we're hoping every district uses classes in a way that aligns with how they offer their benefit plans at the end of the day. So we don't know that to be 100% true, so we're kind of looking for feedback in that area as time goes on. Okay, I'll pause here, just making sure, Scott, you're hearing me okay, and everything seems straightforward so far?
Yeah, we're hearing you fine, and I'm making some notes here. I don't know, does anybody have any questions or anything? So far, it's making sense.
Well, that's good. I am glad to hear that. It's sometimes it's complicated. The setup there, the benefit types is a little bit complicated, but it has to be when you think about all the different possible permutations you may need. And so, I can't apologize for it, I think, because I think there's no way around it. It has to get a little complicated to do benefit admin these days, unfortunately. So let's look at the enrollment controls. The enrollment controls is, again, there's a screen that you can create that will actually create them for you, and you can filter many ways to kind of say which benefit classes, which benefit plan options, what dates, and so forth. But right now, what the system is basically saying is that if I'm an instructional person, I'm just going to use that as an example. Basically, I'm getting flex med, flex dependent. Okay. Again, I've got different ones going on. This is the actual flex, which I'm not really that interested in any longer. I just don't want to delete it right now because it'll mess up some other testing. The only one that's kind of comparable to what we just showed you would be these guys. So I just want to kind of just highlight them. Yeah, so that would be really what we're doing. So that's exactly what we're doing. Benefit plan options. So I think we're getting the different options, choices, and so forth. So the system is going to go ahead and try to think, benefit plan option, enrolled, wave decline, rolled, wave decline. It's going to offer HMO, PPO, waived. So basically, in the dependent side of FSA, they can pick between enrolled and waived or declined, medical, enrolled, waived, declined. And then on the dental, they can be either rolled, waived. Health can be HO, PPO, or waived, and vision's enrolled or waived. So these are kind of the choices they're getting. And again, just with the ones I've showing you here. We do have some dates on here. Again, these dates aren't necessarily tied to the benefit open enrollment period. They're really more structurally designed to speak about kind of what the plan is on an ongoing basis. You could even have that date be way out in the future and then just bring it in when you make a change. Again, some of the choices you get here is no change, I'm replacing it or discontinuing it. So again, as I come to open enrollment each year, I may look at this and say, I don't offer this HMO anymore. I only offer the PPO. I don't have a replacement for it. I'm discontinuing it. Or the HMO is being replaced by, a POS, let's say. And so I'm replacing that with my POS option now. So that's, again, what you have is here. Is what you can do. So that's pretty much straightforward data. Once it's created and out there one time, you're not messing with it all that much. But what you're doing is you're creating an open enrollment. So in my little example today, I've got it filtered just for FAST myself. I'm going through all the enrollment controls. I could go ahead and exclude, if you will, my flex one there, but I'm just going to have it on the screen, but we'll just kind of ignore it, which is fine. All right, so in here, one thing, some of the rules, enrollment start date. So the enrollment start date, enrollment end date is not the actual effective date of the benefits, but it's rather when is open enrollment allowed to happen. And so if you create a new one right now, I cannot create it for a day behind me. I only can create it for today and forward. And the reason is that, well, why would I be creating an open enrollment today and it'd be open yesterday? I'm already past yesterday. So it only lets me pick 5/27 or future. I'm going to go ahead and do a 5/27 to 6/30 open enrollment for an August 1 date. I'm just calling it my periodic open enrollment. I'm just doing it for one person. In your case, you probably would blank this out. And it's going to automatically pick non-blocked employees, but they still have to fit within the enrollment controls. So if they have, for instance, subs is a good example. That's their class, and you haven't defined that class to be part of any benefit class, then they won't get picked up. They'll get skipped automatically. So, it's smart enough to know that it's only going to work on people that are falling within the acceptability for benefits and so forth. And of course, you can filter off of all kinds of different fields and so forth. And we do have a benefits eligible date, and benefits eligible. And I can't remember. It might be that I just can't remember if it forces it to be looking at benefits eligible equals true. It may be doing that automatically. I'd have to look at that. I'm just not sure without getting the code out. You probably should take a look into is those two fields. So see how they interact with this. But anyway, so I'm going to hit OK. It's going to come back. It's going to create a register. It created 10 new rows for just my one employee because it unfortunately I have a lot of benefits I'm mixing and matching flex and non-flex benefits. The register it created was probably number 8 because that's the next one in the series. I've got 10 number of records created. We have a lot of counts on this register to kind of help you over time see what's going on. So I'm going to try to put them all on the screen. So let me just kind of make this a little bit bigger. Okay, hopefully I can, yeah. So I've got total of 10 new records. Count is preliminary. They're not new. And what we mean by that is that preliminary simply means it's a status that does not allow them to be open for open enrollment. You've created the register, but you have not opened it for enrollment. Maybe you want to check it out. You want to go and view detail. If I click on view detail, I'll see all the detail across all the employees. And again, you may be taking this to Excel and looking at some things, doing some analysis, whatever. Enrollment status is preliminary, so it will not show up. If I go to the self-service system, and it's timed out on me now, so let me just log back in. And I go still up to open. Whoops, maybe I'm wrong. Oh, there we go. Nothing there. Nothing to do, it says. Okay. So we're going to have to click this button called Open Enrollment. We'll do that in a second, but I just want to kind of go through some of these statuses. So, as you know, this is across, in this case, one employee, but it could be across 1,000 employees. So you got a lot of records. You might have 7, 8 records per employee, so it's thousands and thousands of records. What this is telling you is, well, how many of these records that are preliminary now move to this column, which pretty much if I press this button, all of them will move to this column. But then how many have been viewed? How many have been updated, meaning I actually changed something? How many have confirmed it? And you guys begin to move the stuff to be ready for payroll and then process it by payroll, which means actually go ahead and do the interface. And so forth. Processed, I think at this point means it's fully processed. It's 100% processed, canceled. And then we have some dependent stuff as well. And one thing about dependents that we haven't talked about, but we should talk about, is that on the self-service system, you have relatives. Well, this becomes very important to you now because these are the people that you end up doing open enrollment with as dependents. And this field here, this relationship field, is important because you set this table up, and behind the scenes on this table, you explicitly say a spouse is a spouse. So even though it says SPOUSE, there's another field hidden that actually has a drop down that says spouse, child, etc. So that's how the system really knows which dependents that these people, which relatives these people have indicated are actually available for benefit administration. And again, as we get into life insurance, we're going to expand it to beneficiaries, and so we'll probably include any of them to be available because I don't think you can just restrict it to their family members. But for healthcare at this point, it is restricted to family members.
Andrew?
Yes, sir.
For the health insurance reporting requirements, those that are included in your health care, we're required to have social security number, and birth date, and name. Are those requirements on here?
Well, there are requirements later on. They're not this very second on here, but they will be requirements for us to fill out that what is it, that 1095C
Right.
Right.
document.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's going to have to get required. Yeah, I'm not sure. I kind of feel like there may be some air checking going on right now, but I can see I don't have a social number. I've been doing open enrollment and not getting bounced, and my wife doesn't have a social number. So, Melissa, maybe something you should note is that we really should pretty much, maybe not allow them to complete open enrollment unless we know that they've updated the relatives to the satisfaction of a birth date and a social security number. I'm not sure if the gender required too on the form. I can't remember.
I guess
Um,
Uh,
it.
Date of birth.
I don't think so.
That's why I was raising the question.
No, it's
because
SSN and date of birth, and
this will be
then
the
whether or
time.
not they have coverage.
Yeah, it's covered for 12. I'm looking at the form right now. That's all they want is date of birth, social number, and name of covered individuals for this 1095C. At least this year, right? Who knows what
Right.
next year's will
Yeah.
look
Who
like.
knows what next year?
Anyway, so Melissa will take that note. That's a good point. Um, yeah, we were building this. We were building this before ACA kind of grabbed us. So let's go back to our back office and let's go ahead and open enrollment for this register. At that point, these 10 move over to here, and now if I view detail, the status here is open. Okay, so now if I go over here, I should be able to get something, and maybe not instantly. Yeah, we have a difference in timer between the Windows client and the web client. So what's happening is it's just the web client's not up to date on the data side. It's the same data, just takes a few minutes. All right, there we go. So pops up a screen. Now I will just tell you that you will not see this flexible screen here. And I'm trying to think what other stuff you're not going to see. I think you're not going to see this medical one here. These first two you would normally see, and then I think everything else, the dental, health plan, vision plan, is the ones that I've showed you today. So this is my test plan. I should have dropped out, and this one I should have dropped out. So that's why the screen's a little bit overjunk because I'm using this as my test system. So one of the things that we know we're going to be doing is it's a little bit of there's a lot of things we want to do to make this easier for them. Make it a little bit more wizardy, kind of like a wizard. And secondly, we want to, for instance, like needs attention, the question is, can we just pick, if they already have their beneficiaries or dependents picked from last year, can't we just go ahead and automatically mark them, and then all they can do is review and accept them? So as an example right now, the system saw this person was on the PPO plan, but says I still need attention on my dependents. But really, it's probably not that necessary. We probably can figure that out ahead of time. But either way, one of the things that we've gotten a feedback on, and I'll kind of go into the health plan right now. So if I go to the health plan and say, you know what, this year I don't want the HMO. I really want the PPO. And I want to go ahead and include it to be employee and children. So I'm kind of making a switch at two different levels. I would just come down here, click on selected. Okay, at this point, and then I had to hit save changes. If I hit close, it won't save the changes. So if I click this, and I do have plan documents here, so you'll be able to store as PDFs, in this case, the Care First plan documents, and be able to let them click on that and open them up. And my guess is it's really at the plan level. That what we're really doing is storing it at the PPO level versus HMO level, because it's not like you have a plan document for a family versus employee and spouse. So it's really more at the plan level. You'll click that, open that up, and they'll be able to print that out, read it, whatever they want. If I hit save changes, it went ahead and made the change. Needs attention. So this is the part that we're going to change. You're going to go right to this screen here, and we're probably going to pre-select it for you. This is employee and children, so you don't have to pick yourself, but you might have different children there and so forth, different ages is now in play and so forth. Eligible for coverage. This review eligibility will click in automatically if the kid is of a certain age, like 19 or whatever. I think there's some things that happen there, but I can't remember exactly how that all works. The member ID from last year will travel from last year to this year. But right now it won't have any of the systems. That's why it's not doing that. So right now we're making you click this mark selected. You could pick it yourself. Just pick selected, declined, and so forth.
Andrew,
Yes, sir.
we have lost the visual. It says participate in sharing session by clicking on the region button.
What do you suggest, Melissa?
Uh,
Are you seeing it?
I
Should
see
I,
your screen.
should I stop? I'm going to stop presenting
Okay.
and go back to present again. Let's see if this helps. Hide stage. All right. All right, I just stopped and started presenting again.
It says loading. Okay, it's back.
Good. Thank God. Internet,
Weird.
who knows? Weird. So this is the screen. Let me back off of the screen where it was. So what I was saying is I had picked in my health plans, I had changed it from HMO to PPO, and then when I save changes, I feel like it should go right to this part right here. And then the other side is should we default automatically selected for the 2 kids and then close. And at that point, it's complete, you see. So, that's something that we're working on. The vision plan needs attention. Davis, I can just do this. Again, mark all, close. Dental plan. So dental plan needs attention, but if I change it to just employee only, which I'll just do, then it's NA because it's no dependent. On the health care, on the dependent care, I come in here and I can put in a plan amount. I'll do $500 and I'll hit save changes. And I've waived that, so that's not relevant. And this guy, I think I'll waive just so I don't have to deal with him. So I'll just do that. Save changes. And that's that. Yeah, I just don't know what I have to do here. Do I have to pick anything here? Let me see. NA. Yeah, it seems fine. I don't think I have to do anything. Okay. All right, so once I'm done, let me just kind of go back to the back office and see what's happening back here. So if I click on here in F5, I've got now counts are changing. I've got new, I've got some updated ones, things are happening. If I come back here and confirm, everything's confirmed at this point. I can hit close. In essence, I'm done. In theory, if I go back to this, I'm done. Can I still change things? Yes, there is a setting to allow that. That setting is in the self-service area. Let me just show you that setting that we did put in there. I'm going to hit F5 here. You can see right now everything's been confirmed. Okay, but I could go and show you in the back office. We have an area called Employee Resource Center, Setup, and Benefits. Allow changes to confirm. So can they update confirmed, or do they need to contact you? Let's say they have buyer's remorse and they've confirmed it. Do you want to force the back office and HR to reset it and allow them to go back into it, or do you want them to be able to do it themselves? So right now I can do it myself, which is what that checkbox allows me to do. And then also, are we showing file attachments in the self-service system, which you saw is on right now for both current enrollments and open enrollments. So those are the only choices we have there today, but I'm sure that'll grow as well over time. All righty, benefit administration, registers. So I could go and do some more stuff, but let's just pretend I'm done at this point. I can click on the view detail. I can see everything that's happened. I can see what's been chosen. You have a lot of detail back here. Actually, it goes on and on and on. It's a lot of, even the interface stuff is starting to show up now. Everything is kind of back there for you. It's a lot of information for the back office to see. At it is, let's say you want to set filters for maybe people that haven't responded, or maybe people that chose a certain thing, or just everybody in general. But you can go and filter based on whatever you want. And then once you've done that, you can click on this button here, and you can say, blah, 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 blah. You can change the subject. You can restrict to employees who have dependents that need attention. That's just a specialized sort of search criteria. Otherwise, the filter that you've set governs. You can type in a book and say, thank you, thanks, HR, and hit OK. And it says it detects that one email needs to be sent out. And at that point, I would get an email that I got to go find. And the email would be there. So it's basically, simple email, nothing fancy. It's whatever you type. But the nice part is what it's doing is it's using the filtering you're doing here and only sending the email one time to any employee that gets caught within the filter. And again, it has a specialized filter for needs attention on the dependents, but that may or may not be as interesting as we kind of make us a little bit smarter. So once you've done emailing back and forth and you've kind of feel comfortable, you can go ahead and set the employee ready for payroll. So once you've done that, and I just did that, all these check boxes checked, I believe, if my memory is serving me, that it goes off the system. Yeah, I think actually they're going to get a different message, actually. I think if we wait long enough, it'll just get me back to say there's nothing open anymore. There you go. I'm just having a little bit of a time delay because of the systems here. But so in other words, it's open enrollment's gone. As soon as you move it into the payroll phase, you're now having payroll reviewing this. They're looking at this, and either they're coming to this button and pressing the next step by reviewing how it's going to go in interface to the payroll side, or they're pressing it themselves, whatever. So you have that, and so set employees processed by payroll. I believe at this point, do you want to update payroll? Okay, so this is where you actually can update payroll. And we will go and say okay. Okay, so at this point, I believe we can go into the employee card. Oops, sorry, just going. Gotta get to the right screen. So I'm going to the employee's card, and I'm bringing up fast, that rascal, and I'm going to the other authorities section, and I've messed up my medical so many times I don't even know where I'm at, but there's an example of a record right there that just popped in. And then, of course, we have to have all the brackets set up correctly and the deductions start to kick in on that date. So just kind of showing you what just got created, which was probably 3 records, I suspect. Yeah, there they are. So that's the interface. Then, of course, you have to send all this information to the provider, and we have an entire tool set for that. That these days is connected. Is it in Payroll? I think it's in Payroll, isn't it, Melissa?
The benefit export.
Yeah, or is it?
It's right there.
Benefit export tool. Yeah, and this tool is pretty complicated, I think.
To say the least, yes.
Scott, Scott and Eileen, it's perfect for you. It's really meant to be done by probably either our support department, our implementation department, or IT oriented people that are kind of understanding of sort of what's needed from a business perspective, and you two are perfect for this tool, but some of our IT departments, some of our districts are not. It could be done by people in the HR, certainly make changes to it, but to originally author them out of the box might be difficult. What's important to understand about this tool is that you actually get into using the tool to create the exact fixed length, comma separated, you name it, type of record that the provider, Prudential, CareFirst, whoever's asking for, with headers and trailers and batch headers, and pretty much as complicated as an ACH file is. I don't know if you're familiar with I'm sure you are. It's kind of a tool that can be used to create something comparable. And it's exactly what you have to do because that's what the benefit providers are asking you for. Sometimes they're asking you for something as simple as a comma separated spreadsheet. Those I think you probably could do on the HR side. But the ones that are very much batch trailers and subtotals on the trailers and all that kind of stuff, well, that gets a little complicated. But our approach is to build a tool set and not to just build a ton of these because, as you can imagine, across the country, which we support, there's just too many providers and too many. Even the same provider has got 2 different formats in different states and different parts of states. So it's just too complicated for us to sort of maintain these. But we are going to try to maintain a library of them. We can't export them. And so once we have them down and, you guys say, has anybody done the, a Prudential one, we could say, yeah, we got one done. Here's one. And we'll just share them with all the districts. Hopefully all the districts will be willing to share them because, once you spent the energy doing them, it's kind of nice to have that, and that saves a lot of time. So that's kind of our approach there. I was trying to think what other stuff. I mean, I've kind of gave you a pretty good quick snapshot of benefit administration and where we're at today. We've got the emailing, the payroll interfacing, and the exporting. It's fully definable. I think it's getting almost mature as it is. Oh, by the way, on the employee card, I guess that would make sense as well. So if I go to the employee card. And by the way, there is a close of the register. I haven't closed the register, but there's a benefit options now, and I've got a lot of testing I've done, but the one I just did is this one. Okay, so this is all the data. So really what this is exactly the data you saw underneath the register. It's actually the exact same screen. The only difference is that it's now by employee. And so we really do get to a lot of the detail here. This is everything that we had all the way down to the interface information that we had earlier. It's the exact same screen. So we kind of purposely are doing that so that you get used to the registers, you get used to the detail below the registers, and you understand that's the same data you see at the employee card. We think that makes sense. Of course, you can also break filters here. I can break the filter by this guy, filtered by let me just say, well, again, I'm only got me is the only one that was in that open enrollment, but you would have the entire open enrollment for August 1st right in front of you right now. So tremendous reporting, filter like crazy, create save views, put it to Excel, run jet reports against it. Tremendous ability. We haven't developed a lot of reports yet. As you can see, our benefits administration menu is a little light right now. We will, I'm sure, add reports as time goes on. I just not sure what those are yet, so we're kind of waiting for feedback from people like yourself and other clients that are kind of beginning to work with this functionality. In terms of where we are, I'm trying to think, did we do a lot in this release that we're upcoming, Melissa? I don't recall a lot of benefit administration in the 12th release.
We didn't do much in the 12th release for benefits.
So most of what we're showing you today, I believe, is available in the 11th release, including the self-service components as well.
Right.
Right. Yeah. So I'm just looking at ERC Roll Center. I'm just trying to. Yeah, I'm sure you're right. Yeah. So I got the 10th release on a lot of this. I'm sure some 11th release work too, but the 12th release, which is out, we're getting ready to close out in the next, I think, week, does not have anything on this. It has a bunch of other interesting features, particularly on leave. We've redone leave in a significant way, which we're heavily testing now. But in terms of benefit administration, we also are working with a contract that we're trying to fully negotiate. We're still kind of in the negotiations, so it's not official, but we're very close to having it official, where we signed a district, Hampton City Schools in Virginia, and they use Oracle today for their benefit administration, and so they are very, very used to and knowledgeable about how this stuff should work for a large school district, and they are very willing and want to be helpful with us in terms of adding maturity to this. An example I already said was having the employee initiate a life event, online. That's an example they can do today, and they don't want to lose that coming into our system. So that's something that we've committed to. We've got an already commitment on that. So there's many others besides that, benefit administration, but that's one of the key ones. Can you think of any others, Melissa, that are key benefit administration? I know the sort of more wizardy kind of flow. We're talking about flow changes, but anything that I'm missing that's kind of...
There was also that impersonation functionality.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. So they want the ability for an employee to come into your offices, and you go to the self-service system, if you will, and flip something so that you actually are now kind of pretending you're them, with them. And so what we're going to do is give you ability in the staff directory to go find the employee, and there'll be an action up here, and impersonate. Well, I don't know if we'll use the word impersonate, probably use a different word. And so when you click that, then you will be that person. And then you can, of course, hopefully switch it back to yourself at a later date. So it's the ability to kind of, for certain anointed people, have the ability to do an impersonation so that you can help them with a problem they might have with any parts of the self-service system. But we think it's going to be particularly useful for open enrollment because it is more of a complicated, we're asking for more interaction than just changing their W-4 information. It's a little bit more complicated. So that is something that you'll see as well. I mean, that's it for my to-dos and to-don'ts. Do you guys have any comments, thoughts, Scott, on your end? Eileen, anybody in the call?
Yeah, our open enrollment has been changed. It's now in November 1st.
Is open enrollment, when is the benefits effective?
Well, I don't know what it has to be official. I think was decided, but
Is this to be effective January?
yeah.
Yeah.
But let's make sure that's going to happen.
Okay.
Right. But well,
Okay,
we don't have to know in just a minute. But what you're saying is you would have a November 1 to even a December 15th, let's say, open enrollment period for an effective date of January 1st. Is kind of something like that.
Yeah, we're just talking about doing it 1 month instead of 2 months.
So it'll just be November.
Right.
30th for effective January 1.
Yes.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, and again, you want to get ahead of that. I mean, you want to begin to set up the benefit types, practice it, enroll yourself, and you can always kill out everything out of the system. But a lot of the setups, you can always do them in your test system, but it's a pain. I advise you do all the health plan setups in your live system because it's not going to hurt you by having that data there at all. It's not like it magically does anything. You're going to have to click buttons to do a lot to get it to be out there. So you always can do a mini enrollment like I just did for yourself, practice it, kind of see what it does, blow it out, try it again a million times. Believe me, Melissa and I have done that so many times at this point. It's crazy. So we can help you with that. We can walk you through it. The key thing is knowing what your benefits are. I mean, you have to sort of get to know them, and you obviously do know them. So maybe put it on a couple pieces of paper, and we're happy to have like a shared session. Melissa can probably work directly with you and help you with that. And we do need to train more at our own organization because Melissa and I have more knowledge on this than anybody. And no matter what we do, Melissa, we need to bring in somebody else so we can begin to pass the good knowledge around our own organization as well.
Right.
Yeah, because we don't want to.
Andrew, our current employees are enrolled in healthcare and dental and vision. That can be imported or transferred or whatever into whatever's set up here.
Yes, I mean we can do a rapid start for the employee benefit table, which is what this table was when we were on the employee's card. If we looked at that table, well, I'll just go back to the registers because it's the same data. If I come in here, this is employee benefits. The table is called employee benefit, okay? And so we need a rapid start built for employee benefit. That is something that absolutely we're going to need because nobody is going to start life with no benefits. They're going to start with already existing benefits. And so I think it's going to be very important that we get that rapid start built for you so that you can actually import that data in so the system does know explicitly what their benefits look like last year. And there are other tables you'll have to do as well. There's an employee benefit dependent table. That's the table that connects each benefit to the dependent. So you would have, if it's a family plan of a father and an employee, a spouse, and one child, you would have two records there because of the spouse and the child. So those records will have to be brought in as well. So we'll need two rapid starts there. I'm not sure the rapid starts for the setup tables are that important because I'd rather you just keystroke those. That's how you'll get to know them better. Everything else is semi-automated from that point forward. I think it's just getting the preload of the employee benefit and employee benefit dependent data, which is more of the tall table data. in before go live, critical. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's real critical. And you want to do it last second because, again, you have little mini open enrollments going on with life event changes happening during the year. So you want to get the latest and greatest. So maybe somewhere around October, right? You probably want to be bringing that data in, but it doesn't mean you don't practice way before that.
Yeah, well, we can certainly practice on the test environment anyway. So.
Yeah, you can. It's just my feeling is with the benefit types, it's a lot of setup. So it almost be better to set up all your benefit types and so forth kind of in the production system than back it up, before you're ready to kind of bring in that data because, you hate to have to do, it's the setup data that's kind of a pain to have to do twice. And we don't have any import-export at this point of that data. So it's hand-keyed. So I'd almost rather you do it that way just because it's more efficient.
But if they set it up in production, then we can update their test environment with their production before
Right.
they really test anything. Yeah.
That's what I just said.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't know you were on there. Hello, Linda.
Hello.
How you doing? No, I said that we just back up production to test once
Yes.
they've done the setup data,
Okay.
and then bring in the tall data as practice into the test system before we do it in production. I agree. Yeah, and one thing is that as soon as you bring it in, they would be able to, in theory, go to the self-service system. And let me go to Roll Center here and go to current enrollment, and they'd be able to go here. One thing also, you see where it says past, current, and future. So if they do past, it shows them last year. This shows them the one they're currently under. If they hit future, well, these will be the benefits that haven't gone into effect yet, but yet they've been already kind of moved over and processed. So they're kind of, it's kind of like in your example, you could be in December 15th, December 20th, and they're seeing their future benefits as they're going to start on January 1st. Even though they're past the enrollment period, they still have access to see their future benefits as well, which we felt was important because people get skittish about it. It's like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen next week, when the benefits start. I can't remember what I picked, that kind of stuff. So I think that's important. The dependence option is a little bit done differently here. So when you click on this, I can just click on dependence, and it will list it like that. So again, just showing you what that might look like. Okay, it's not applicable because I picked employee and spouse. So with a family plan here, if I do dependence there, then that'll look a little different. Man, my kids don't realize how much insurance they got, how much coverage they have. They're heavily covered. Anyway.
Covered everywhere. Yeah.
Covered everywhere. Anyway, so Linda, did you watch this whole presentation? No, she's muted me again.
I invited a couple of the, I think
Yes.
Dan may be here, Linda and James.
Okay,
Yes.
good.
Yes, and I watched the whole thing. Yes.
Good, excelente. What do you think?
I think it looks good. Yeah, it's the first time I've seen it. So yeah.
Good. All righty. Well, we're at the hour, and I know we all have other stuff. How are you guys? Good for now, Scott? I mean, we're happy to kind of have more of a one-on-one conversation, once you kind of put your plan together in terms of how to stand this up. Just certainly let us know.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be there. I mean, that looks good. Of course, from here, then we have to get into the annual reporting on the special forms and everything.
Yeah, well, in terms of what we're doing there is we're going to create sort of generic tables to supply the 1095-C. And for people that aren't on our benefit administration system, I think for the most part, since we really don't have all the information that's necessary, they'll be able to data enter into those tables directly. Is that correct, Melissa? Is that the
I
plan?
believe so, yes. I believe
Yeah.
that's how Serenic is designing it.
Right. But again, for us, our plan is to take those sort of quote unquote dumb tables
Yes.
that are the ones that are used for the 1095-C. And what we're going to do is build a bridge, if you will, between these dumb tables and our data. So we'll be able to just press a button and say, go ahead and grab all that data out of our system, benefits data system, into these dumb tables that the form, the 1095-C.
Well,
and the
we're
other
going to build
ones
we're going to
is-
build a workspace that
Right.
will be populated periodically, maybe after each pay or at the end of each month or whatever, which will accumulate the information, and then the payroll person, whoever's doing the review, can review the data and then post it into these tables that will feed the 1095C.
But we'll be able to get the dependent information more in an explicit way because of the way because of benefit admin, right? I mean,
Serenic is going to provide a dependent import, at least that's what they're telling me, they have an employee ACA table that's basically driving the printed 1095 forms. So that particular table will have all the information on it regarding the employee, dependents, all that sort of stuff, what their coverage level is, the code series 1, code series 2, all that sort of stuff.
but I mean, yeah, but again, we just want to make sure these guys don't have to go out and export data, import data, because we have that data all in our system, so we should be able to just go grab it.
Right. I mean, when we build the workspace, if they're using benefit admin, then we can pull the data from there to, populate the workspace and display it. Otherwise, we'll need to get it from somewhere.
Right.
So,
well, then yes, the example, Scott, where you don't have our benefit admin system is that we would expect you to be getting that information from your provider. And the provider would give you the information in some format. You would put it in our standard format that we would dictate, and you would be able to import it into this workspace and still satisfy the 1095C requirements that way, because we're making the presumption that you're tracking either in some Excel spreadsheet somewhere on the side, or maybe your provider's doing that. And so that's kind of our, not using our benefit admin strategy, if you will. So we will provide electronic means, but we just don't have the data itself, in any kind of pristine condition, except unless you're using our benefit admin system. That's kind of how we look at it.
Okay, well, yeah, so we've, at the end of this year, we'll be reporting for the 2015 year.
Right.
And now we're in May, and of course we have to report each month whether an employee had coverage or not.
Right.
So what are we going to need to do for January through whenever this is launched?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that either. Well, that's something that we need to think about. How do you get onto this system and have sense of coverage for the months that have been missed?
Well, what's the expectation from Serenic is that the employer will populate the information in their employee ACA table. That's the expectation from Serenic.
Right. So in other words, do you have any way to know that information through your provider at this time? For the months?
I don't know. I don't know either way, to be honest. But I guess we'll need to find that out.
Yeah.
I mean, in theory, you could, when we develop our workspace, you could, because the workspace is going to the workspace will be responsible for covering the 30-hour rule, determining when people have hit the